Hello and welcome to a new video lesson about scientific notation. At the end of this video lesson, the learners will be able to write numbers from standard form into scientific notation and vice versa. Let us perform first the indicated operation. For part A, we're going to multiply these numbers by the powers of 10. 789 times 100. The simple way to write the final answer is to copy 789 and add zeros, depending kung ilan yung zero sa ating factor. Here we have 2, therefore our final answer will be 78,900. For number 2, we write 52 times 10,000, which has 4 zeros. Our final answer will be 520,000. For number 3, after writing 275 and 3 zeros here, since we multiplied it to a decimal number, we must consider its decimal places. We move the decimal point 2 places to the left, and therefore, we're going to have 2,750 as the answer. As we can see here, dahil minultiply natin yung mga numbers na to by a bigger number, lumaki din yung value ng ating answer. While for part B, we're going to divide these numbers by powers of 10 pa rin. So dito naman, ang technique is to simply move the decimal point depende kung ilan yung zero. From 92 divided by 10, since may isang zero dyan, we simply move it once. Therefore, we're going to have 9.2. Number 2, 42 divided by 1,000. Since we have 3 zeros here, we also move the decimal point 3 zeros to the left. And therefore, our final answer is 0.042. For number 3, from the original number 5.392, we have 2 zeros in our divisor. So we also move it 2 decimal places. Therefore, our final answer here is 0.05392. As we notice, in part B, yung mga numbers natin ay nag-decrease since we divide it by the powers of 10. In these examples, we simply show that once we multiply a number by power of 10, lumalaki yung value ng isang number, while kapag dinidivide naman natin ito, ay lumiliit ang kanyang value. Now, let's take a look at this example. Can you write these numbers in simple and shorter way? The age of the Earth is 4,600,000,000 years old. This number is quite large, while the weight of one atomic mass unit is this. And as we can see here, ang number naman ito ay too small for its weight. Paano kaya natin mas gagawing simple ang pagsulat ng mga numbers na sobrang laki or sobrang liit? To do that, we are going to write numbers in scientific notation form. Scientists have come up with this short way of writing very big numbers or very small numbers using powers of 10. This is expressed in the form a times 10 raised to the n power, where n, which is an exponent, must be an integer, and a must have a value greater than or equal to 1 but less than 10. For example, we have a very big number, 104 million. Once we write it in scientific notation, it will become 1.04 times 10 to the 8th power. While the next number is a very small number, and when we write it in scientific notation, it will now become 2.6 times 10 to the negative 9th power. As we can see here, ang value ng a is greater than 1 but less than 10. While the exponent must be an integer, just like 8 and negative 9. Now, writing these numbers will not change its value. Ganun pa rin po yung value ng ating number kahit na sinulat natin in scientific notation. Yung 1.04 dito ay kailangan pa rin nating i-multiply sa 10 to the 8th power. Remember that 10 to the 8th power means multiplying 10 8 times. It means it will have 8 zeros. And since we're going to multiply 1.04, we can simply move the decimal places 8 zeros to the right. So still, the value of the number did not change. Okay? While for the second one, 2.6 times 10 raised to the negative 9 power, that means multiplying it by 1 over 10 to the 9th power. So instead of multiplying, it also means dividing 2.6 by 10 to the 9th power. This time, ang ating decimal point ay i-move natin to the left, katulad ng technique na ginawa natin kanina. Still, the value of the number did not change. So, the moment na kapag nakita natin ang isang number is written in the form a times 10 to the n power, that is what we mean by scientific notation. Let's have more examples. Let's write these numbers in standard form into scientific notation. And we're going to do that by following these steps. First is to place the decimal point after the first non-zero digit. So, kailangan po ay piliin po muna natin yung mga non-zero digits dito. We call them significant figures. Ito yung mga digits na hindi zero. Just like 5, 7, 2, 3, and 5. While kapag ang dalawang non-zero digit ay may 0 sa gitna, isasama din natin siya. Which means, sa number 1, ang ating significant figures ay 209. While sa number 5 ay 2007. Dahil yung dalawang 0 na to ay nasa gitna ng dalawang non-zero digit. So again, ayan po yung tinatawag nating significant figures dahil sila ay non-zero digit. Nagkataon lang sa number 1 and number 5, yung dalawang 0 ay nasa gitna nito. Kaya in-include din po natin sila. So based on the first step, we must place the decimal point after the first non-zero digit. This will be 2.09, 5.7, 2.3, 5, and 2.007. So by doing this, we are assuring that the value of a is greater than 1 but less than 10. Next, we will be multiplying it by the power of 10. Para malaman ang ating exponent, we will count the number of places the decimal point is moved from the original number. Number 1, ang ating decimal point sa whole number na to ay nasa dulo. And dahil naging 2.09 siya, so we moved it 8 times. And that will be the value of our exponent here. But we must remember that if we moved the decimal point to the left, the value of n or the exponent is positive. Therefore, this is now the scientific notation of number 1. 2.09 times 10 to the 8th power. For number 2, nandito po ang kanyang decimal point and naging 5.7 siya. We moved the decimal point 9 places. But this time, we moved it to the right. That means our n will be negative. The scientific notation for number 2 is 5.7 times 10 to the 9th power. So again, let us remember that if we move the decimal point to the left, n is positive, while if we move the decimal point to the right, n is negative. So let us continue. For number 3, naging 2.3, we move it 6 places to the left, therefore that is positive. For number 4, 5 places to the right, and this now will become negative. While for number 5, naging 2.007, so that is also to the left, our exponent will be positive. Okay? We have written this standard form into scientific notation. Kukunin muna yung value ng a from our significant figures, considering na ang decimal point is after the non-zero digit. And then we multiply it to the power of 10, and ang ating mga exponent ay depende kung paano natin minuved yung decimal point. Whether it is to the left, the exponent will be positive, while going to the right, the exponent will become negative. Another way to double check whether our answer is correct is once the exponent is positive, the value of the number gets bigger and bigger, while kapag ang exponent naman natin ay negative, the value of the number gets smaller. Okay? This time, let's do the other way around. Let us write the scientific notation into standard form. So as we can see here, lahat ng mga ito ay scientific notation dahil yung value ng mga a natin dito ay greater than 1 but less than 10 times 10 raised to the exponent na mga teachers. So this time, kabaliktaran naman ang ating gagawin. From this original value of a, we will be moving the decimal point to the right if the exponent is positive, while we will move the decimal point to the left if the exponent is negative. Here, let's get the value of a, that is 1.2. And dahil ang exponent natin ay positive, we will be moving it to the right 6 places, and then add zeros. This will become 1,200,000. Number 2, this time, ang ating exponent ay negative. We will be moving it to the left 5 times. And then fill in the spaces with 0. It will become 0.000708. Okay? Next, for number 3, we have 8.203. Since the exponent is positive, we move it to the right 3 times. 8,203. For number 4, from 5, we will be moving the decimal point to the left 8 times. This will result to, okay? While for number 5, 1.7. And since negative rin yung exponent, we will be moving it to the left 4 times. So this will give us 0.0017. So again, as I mentioned, kapag ang exponent natin ay positive, the number gets bigger, just like in number 1 and number 3. While if the exponent is negative, the number gets smaller, just like in numbers 2, 4, and 5. That's one way on how to check whether we have written it correctly. So now, going back to our question a while ago, how do we write this in simple or shorter way? The age of the Earth, which is 4,600,000,000 years old, can be written in scientific notation, in which we will place the decimal point after the first non-zero digit times 10 raised to the 9th power. This is positive because we have a bigger number. While for the second one, which is the weight of one atomic mass unit, we write the significant figure 166, and then we put the decimal point after the first non-zero digit times 10 to the 27. Okay? So since we have a small number, and we move the decimal point to the right, that is negative. So therefore, the scientific notation of the weight of one atomic mass unit is 1.66 times 10 to the negative 27th power. So mas mabilis basahin at isulat kapag ang isang number ay nakasulat in a scientific notation form. Alright, this time you try this. Please complete the table below by writing the standard form of the given into scientific notation form and vice versa. You can pause this video for a while so that you can check it afterwards if you got the correct answer. Alright, let us answer. Number 1, 98 billion. To write it in scientific notation form, we get the significant figure 98, write the decimal point after the first digit, times 10. Since we move it to the left at malaki yung number natin, that means our exponent is positive. Therefore, this one is 9.8 times 10 to the 10th power. Number 2, the other way around, 5.72. We move the decimal point to the right since it is positive, so we move it 7 times. And afterwards, you can put comma so that you can read it easily. So therefore, this is now 57,200,000. For number 3, since we have a negative exponent, we will be moving the decimal point to the left. We're going to have this answer. So that is the standard form for number 3. Next, for number 4, the significant figures here are 506. Sinama natin yung 0 dahil napapaginaan siya ng dalawang non-zero digits. So we'll have here 506, and we put the decimal point after the non-zero, times 10 to the 7th power. Since that is going to the right at small din yung number, this one is negative. So this is 5.06 times 10 to the negative 7th power. While for number 5, the significant figure 926, we add the decimal point after the first non-zero digit, and we count how many times it was moved. So times 10 to the negative 5 power. Again, this is negative because we move it to the right, or because the number is a small number. Alright, so that's how we transform the number from standard form into scientific notation form. Thank you very much for watching this video lesson about scientific notation. God bless.